Hey YouTube, this is Tom at TM Aquatics and I hope you're all doing great. I picked up a new air pump for the 75-gallon tank out here in the rec room. And in today's video, we're going to go ahead and unbox this, check it out, and see if it's going to do the job. So stick around, because you don't want to miss this one. Alright YouTube, before we get into the unboxing of the new air pump, I just want to show you this tank real quick. And this is where I keep my group of L-494 Plecos. But I am only filtering this tank with air-driven systems. I have 2 sponge filters and I have 2 of these Zis moving bed media filters. So to me, the most important piece of equipment on this tank next to the heater, or in addition to the heater, would be the air pump. Well, let's take a look at what we're currently supplying the air with. So on this side of the cabinet I have 2 Whisper 100 air pumps. And on this side I have a third. So I have 3 Whisper 100 air pumps supplying the air for these 4 devices. And I have noticed a decrease in the performance of those Whisper 100s. So it's taken 3 pumps to provide this tank with enough air. Well, I want to change that up. I want to put a single pump on this tank that's going to provide enough air for these 4 devices, as well as a couple of air stones. So the pump I decided to go with, again, is the Alita AL-6A. Now let's go ahead and check this thing out. Alright YouTube, we're going to go ahead and open up this box, check out this new air pump, the contents, and any accessories that came with it. And then when we're done, we're going to go ahead and swap it out for those 3 Tetra 100 pumps currently running the 75-gallon tank behind me. And I guess at that point, we'll find out if it was money well spent and if this Alita AL-6A is going to do the job. Well, let's get into it. Instructions, product registration, heavy for a little air pump, very heavy. I think the specs said that it weighed 6 pounds or 8 pounds. I don't know that it weighs 8, but it is heavy. Metal casing. Couple of fittings in here for looks like one for standard air tube, the other one looks to be like maybe for 1/4 inch inside diameter air tubing, which will be great. Bear with me, because I do plan to hook up this 6 valve or 6-way gang valve, and it does use 1/4 inch or 3/16 inside diameter. If this is a little too narrow, we could just soak this in hot water and it'll be pliable enough where should be able to slip it over that 1/4 inch barb, not a problem. So I think what I'm going to do at this point is I want to hook up one of these nipples and I want to see what the decibel rating is on this air pump, and I want to check the decibel or the dB before we hook up the air lines, and then I want to check the decibel ratings after we hook everything up, because with a little bit of back pressure and hooked up to the air lines, the decibel level from what I've read on these little Alita pumps goes down to almost next to nothing. And that's one of the main reasons I decided to go with this model and this brand, is because this is out here in a rec room where we spend a lot of time, and the last thing I want to hear is a cheap air pump and that constant buzzing and humming sound. So anyways, I'll be back in a flash. We're going to plug this thing in and check out what the decibel ratings are. Then we'll go ahead and hook it up. We'll check the dB ratings again. We'll check the airflow and give some final thoughts. Alright YouTube, real quick before we hook this pump up, I just want to give some stats and some numbers for those that want a little more information. As far as the size, it's just under 6 inches in length and it's about 5 inches wide, and height, we're at about 4.5 inches high. Now, on the box it says that this thing, the rated performance is 10 liters per minute at 2 psi. Now, I don't know how that all calculates out to how many tanks and how many sponges and all that. That's not my thing, but if it's yours, knock yourself out. What I do know is there should be enough air for this one tank. The other stat, it pulls 9 watts of power. So that is the power consumption, 9 watts. I believe these Tetra 100s each run about, or take about 4.5 watts of electricity to operate them. So it's going to be a few watts less, but negligible on the grand scale of things. But anyways, just some quick numbers for those that like that type of information. Now, let's go ahead and hook it up. All right, YouTube, we have the air pump hooked up. It's just pushing air through the open barbed fitting right now. There's no back pressure at all. And as you can see, the decibel rating is pretty high. It's about 80. But everything that I've read says that once it has some back pressure and it's starting to actually push air through a manifold and through the air tubes or air lines into the aquarium, these things become extremely silent. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to hook it up, we're going to see if that's true or not, and again, see if this pump is up for the job. Alright, YouTube, I have the 3 Tetra 100 pumps removed from the cabinet. I have the Alita AL-6A in place. I have that hooked up to a 6-way gang valve, and 4 of those lines are going straight to the 2 sponge filters and the 2 ZIS moving bed media filters. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, the plans for the other 2 lines are for these air stones, which will also eventually be added to the fish tank. Sadly, I don't have enough air tubing left over to actually get these in the tank. Bad planning by me. But these are serving a different purpose right now, and that is this pump is producing more air than the 2 sponge filters and the 2 ZIS filters need. So it's always a good idea to bleed that excess air so the pump operates at a lower temp and extends the longevity and the life of the diaphragms. But this is giving a little bit of a false return in the decibel ratings. It's creating quite a hiss coming out of these. Not too terribly bad, but we're at about 65 dBs, which is down quite a bit from where it was. But again, between the air coming out of these air stones and the bubbles being produced in the tank, that's where we're getting most of those readings. But check this out. Okay, so once we close that cabinet door, it goes down to about 53, 54 decibels. Now, if you're wondering how much this pump costs, it's going to set you back about $90. But when it comes to the critical life support systems of an aquarium, I don't mind spending the extra money. Compared to the amount that the fish actually cost me, this is pretty minimal. And just knowing that they have decent equipment keeping their life support systems up and running just gives me the added peace of mind and is well worth the investment. All right, YouTube, back up here in the tank. Good news, I did find a couple pieces of air tubing. So I do have those 2 new air stones in the tank as well. So all 6 of the outlets on the gang valve are being used. And look at the amount of air coming through those air stones. And even with that, the amount of air I have coming through the sponge filters and the ZIS moving bed media filters is significantly more than what it was prior to the upgrade. I mean, just look at the media being tossed around in that ZIS filter. That's a huge, huge improvement over what it was. So I'm thinking this Alita 6A here, I think this is going to be a huge smashing success and a great upgrade and a great decision for this tank here. Anyways, with that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this video. I appreciate everybody stopping by. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please take a moment and do so. Hit the like button on your way out. Post any comments or questions down below. Like always, folks, until the next one, we'll catch you all later.